So I've had my PlayStation 5 for a year. I didn't get it at launch, I got it, well, a year ago. And honestly, I have to say, oh, isn't it great? So I just wanted to sort of break down my sort of year in PS5 gaming for you. Now what I wanted to do is sort of give you sort of my top 3 games from the last year, the sort of games I've enjoyed the most, going across both VR and not VR, and also I would say my sort of top 3 accessories that I've got for the PS5. Just to give you some background, I've not had a PlayStation before this PS5 since the PlayStation 2. And I was little back then. I was playing Crash Bandicoot. Sort of the most sort of grown-up game I played was GTA 3 on the PS2, and that was fantastic. But since then, I've not had a PS3, a PS4, I've just had Xboxes and a Nintendo Wii. So I was sort of new going into it. I hadn't played any of the sort of PlayStation exclusives. I hadn't played God of War, I hadn't played Uncharted or The Last of Us or any of that stuff. I hadn't used the original PSVR headset or anything like that. So I was going into this brand new with tons and tons of stuff to sort of just dive headfirst into. And honestly, I was mega excited. And I've been trying to get the sort of most out of my year with PlayStation, and I've been having honestly a fantastic time. I've sort of gone a little bit over the top, and I've probably got more stuff for my PlayStation than most people do, but I want to sort of break down all of the accessories that I've got with my PlayStation, the games I've played, and an upgrade that I made to my PlayStation as well. So let's break down my year with the PS5. So first of all, the first thing I did when I got my PlayStation 5 was, well, I just got the PlayStation 5. It came with a game installed on it, which was God of War Ragnarok and the Astro game, and I played those and I had a fantastic time. But I didn't really have a lot of other games. I didn't want to sort of suddenly go out and spend tons of money on buying individual games, because obviously that's going to sort of add up quite quickly, especially when you've just spent loads of money on the actual PS5, and I was planning on getting the PlayStation VR 2, so I couldn't do that. I got the PlayStation Plus Extra subscription, and on there, there are a ton of games. It's basically Game Pass for PlayStation, and I've played through tons and tons of PlayStation exclusives, some other games as well. And then throughout the year, I sort of added in the odd game that I wanted to get. I remember I got Hogwarts Legacy for my birthday when that came out in February, and I had quite a decent time playing that. Gran Turismo 7 I got so I could test it out in VR and stuff like that, but we'll get onto that. And honestly, I would say the games I've really sort of enjoyed the most have been God of War Ragnarok. That was a fantastic game. At the moment, I'm just finishing Uncharted A Thief's End. Uncharted 4, is that? A Thief's End? Fantastic game. I'm really enjoying that as well. I sort of have dabbled with Horizon, but I've not really sort of pushed past the start of it. I've not played The Last of Us because I watched the Season 1 series and I thought, I've got so many things to get through. That will do for now, and I'll play it when I get a chance later date. And the Astro game is that's a great game for free. I mean, my kids love it as well, so they can jump on there and play that, which is a ton of fun. Now, the first thing I was actually really excited for was this. Now, this is the PlayStation VR 2, and at the time I had a Meta Quest 2, so this, for me, from that was a massive upgrade. I went from playing my Meta Quest 2 quite regularly to it sort of gathering dust on the shelf, because all I was wanting to do was play the sort of high fidelity games that this has to offer. I'm a big fan of the PlayStation VR 2. I feel like the tech is great, and I will get onto some of the things may have grown a little bit tired of, but we'll get onto that in a minute. This opened the doors to a ton of other games. So I played a lot of Pavlov on this game, so first-person shooter, online multiplayer game, and that was a ton of fun. Horizon Call of the Mountain was a fairly decent game. I did complete it. I got to literally right at the end of the game, and then for some reason I just didn't finish the last 5 minutes of it, and then I went on thinking, oh, I've not finished this game. And there was about 5 minutes left, and then I finished it, and I was like, oh, okay. Now, that was an okay game. I mean, it wasn't something that I would massively recommend to be your sort of main experience on this, but it was beautiful. It was a fantastic way to show off the sort of quality of the headset and some of the features like the eye tracking. But really, the game that sort of blown me away more than anything was Gran Turismo 7, and I went not only just for Gran Turismo 7, I thought I would sort of go a bit all out on that because it was such a mind-blowing experience, even for someone who's quite accustomed to VR. I then got myself a steering wheel and pedals, a G923, I think it was, and I had that attached to my desk, and that was absolutely incredible. And I thought I'd go one step further, and I ended up getting a stand for that to have it separate, and then also getting the gear stick so you could use it manual like you would an actual manual driving car. And that, I have to say, probably even to this day, is still one of my best experiences I think I've had in virtual reality. Being able to sort of literally drive race cars and supercars, and it feels so real inside the headset. That is probably hands down one of my most immersive experiences that I've had in virtual reality and on the PlayStation 5. Now, I have tested quite a few headsets with the PlayStation 5. So I started off by using the Pulse 3Ds, and I got them and I did a review of those, and they were okay. They were sort of a semi-decent headset for the price tag, bringing in some of the sort of 3D audio features, which is quite nice to see. But the sound quality wasn't amazing. It wasn't the best sound quality that I've had in a headset. I've also tried and tested the SteelSeries Arctis Nova 7P. Those are a fantastic headset again. That bumped up the sound quality quite a bit, and sort of made them just a little bit nicer because you got the sort of other options for sound inputs as well, so you can connect them via Bluetooth to other things. And then also I've been testing the Sony InZone H7s. And they are my headset that I use regularly if I'm using a headset whilst gaming. I don't really use the other ones anymore. It's very, very on par with the SteelSeries H7. They're just sort of my personal preference. Now, I am planning on getting and testing the Pulse Elites when they release at some point over the next sort of month or so. So make sure you are subscribed to the channel to catch that when it launches. But I'll test them against the other headsets that I've got. I no longer have the Pulse 3Ds because they were just, I wasn't ever using them, so I'm not made of money. I have to sort of, these things that come in, if I don't use them, they go back out again. I'm not exclusively a VR gamer, and a lot of people who sort of get into virtual reality, from what I can tell, that tends to be the way they go, is they sort of dive headfirst into virtual reality gaming, and then that's where they stay. But there's definitely a big part for flat gaming in my life. I'm still a big fan of games like God of War and Spider-Man and all that stuff. Oh, I played Spider-Man as well because I was really excited to play Spider-Man. I've not played Spider-Man 2. I can't keep buying all these games and all this stuff. I'm investing my soul into games that I just don't have the time to play. But yeah, so I still actually quite frequently play 2D games, even though I do enjoy VR, because sometimes, honestly, virtual reality is a bit too much for some circumstances. Sometimes putting on the headset and all the faff, it's just, you need to sort of set aside time to do it, and I don't have a lot of time. Sometimes just being able to grab a controller, whack on a game, other people in the room can see what's going on, you can play multiplayer, a bit of FIFA. I'm a big fan of the new PlayStation Portal I went and got, and I did a review of that as well. But that's a fantastic little device actually that I use quite regularly. I probably actually use the Portal more than I would use my PS5 on the TV, and that sounds a bit ridiculous, but I'll give you a bit of a disclaimer. It's been Christmas, everything's been in my office because we had our kitchen sorted, so my office got filled up, and that's when my PS5 is connected to the TV. So my PS5 has been a bit out of bounds, and having the PlayStation Portal has meant I've still been able to play games wherever I am in the house, whether it be in bed, sat on the toilet, or just in the living room with my wife while she's watching something on the telly. So I'm getting loads of use out of it. I know it's not for everyone, but honestly it's fantastic. And actually you can also just use it like a DualSense controller, just connect it to your account and then play, and then you can play multiplayer with other people, and you've got an extra controller if you don't already have one. Now, before I got the PlayStation 5, I probably wasn't gaming that much at all, honestly. I was doing some VR gaming with my Quest 2. I had an Xbox Series X, which I no longer have because I just don't see the need for it. And I just wasn't really getting any interest in sort of new games. I wasn't getting the time to sort of sit down and spend games because I'm a dad, and by the time I actually get to rest in the evening, I've got so much stuff to do to get on top of that. It's just not worth my time. But since I've had the PS5, I actually get time for myself to sit down and play games, and I sort of look after myself a bit more by giving myself that sort of switch off time, which I don't really get tons of. I still probably don't get that much at the moment, but it's a lot more than I was getting, and it's because I actually feel like I'm excited to go and play a game, and I'll prioritize myself in order to do that. Now, I am sort of very guilty for sort of starting a game and not finishing it. If the game doesn't grip me early on, I will just get lost because other games will come along, and because of the nature of my channel and the fact that I'm getting games to test out and stuff like that, a game's got to really grip me for me to actually play it from start to finish or sort of get quite a lot of hours out of it. So there have been games that I've sort of started it, like for example the Horizon games, so Horizon Zero Dawn, Horizon Forbidden West, where I sort of started it and I just sort of lost a bit of interest, and it's not because it's not a good game, it's probably just I didn't get far enough to be sort of really invested. The games where I was hooked instantly was games like God of War and God of War Ragnarok, because Ragnarok sort of followed quite seamlessly on from the original God of War. That sort of felt like it was quite a nice way to just sort of keep playing. Uncharted as well, I did started testing that out on the PlayStation Portal, and I've almost got to the end of Thieves End, and I've played that game entirely on the PlayStation Portal, and honestly I've enjoyed it massively because I can just sort of play. It's a fairly chilled game, and I can sort of play wherever I am if I just want to quickly grab a game and just crack on with it, and I've been enjoying that as well. Now, one issue I did sort of run into is that the storage on the PS5 isn't massive, and I don't think you can get a PS5 with an optional larger storage capacity, so you're sort of stuck with what you got to a degree. And I was finding myself, especially as soon as I got the PlayStation VR 2, I found myself downloading and trying out a lot of different games, especially with the PlayStation Plus Extra subscription. I was getting loads of games installed, and I was constantly having to sort of offload them and reload them, especially if my kids wanted to play games, or I wanted to have games available if someone came on for multiplayer, if I was playing some sort of co-op games with people. So I was finding my hard drive was just filled up massively. I then decided I would do an upgrade to my PS5, and I upgraded it with an M.2 hard drive, and there's a video somewhere around to show you that. And that, I would say, if you're the type of person who plays a lot of games and you sort of like switching between a lot of games and you want quite access to a lot of games, that is an essential upgrade that you need to do. I did a 1 terabyte upgrade, and I've been downloading games. I've not offloaded a game since I did the upgrade. I feel like the storage must be near capacity, but I just keep downloading games and they just keep fitting on the PS5. So I've not run into any issues, and I think by the time I get to a point where I have filled up the hard drive, there will be games on there that I will not be playing anymore, and I will not feel bad about getting rid of them. So that's an upgrade I probably would definitely recommend for anyone. It honestly is super easy, and if it's annoying you, the constant sort of offloading and reloading up apps, that's a good solution. Now, before we go any further, I just want to give you a message from this video's sponsor, PlayVital. Now, I'm really lucky that we've been able to sponsor this video. It allows me to sort of continue making content on the channel. And honestly, I wanted to make sure that when I do sponsorships on this channel, it's something that actually might interest the audience that's watching it. Now, PlayVital create gaming accessories. Now, here you can see a regular old DualSense controller. Now, this is the same controller, but just jazzed up a little. You've got a nice sort of silicone grip around the outside, which just sort of makes it a little bit chunkier. White covers for the controller grips to sort of make it a little bit easier to use. Less likely for your thumbs to slip over. And the piece de resistance, boom, slightly longer and adjustable triggers. This allows you to sort of be a little bit more liberal with the grips, but you can also add these little things in behind these little trigger grips, and when you put those in, it sort of stops the trigger from pushing all the way. It's a much more smaller distance for your fingers to cover, so you're going to be performing much better in first-person shooter games. There are tons of different things that you can get on the PlayVital website. Now, check out the controller grips on this bad boy. Look at that. That looks absolutely incredible. Look at that. Now, this is the PlayStation Portal, like so, and it's been sat over here on this little metal controller stand that's been made by PlayVital, and it's just there designed to sort of sit nicely with a controller like that. Some honestly really nice accessories to jazz up your current accessories for your PS5. Now, they don't just do PlayStation 5, they do Xbox, and they also do Nintendo Switch and other things. The link is down in the description, so if you want to go check them out, feel free. Now, so let's break down my 3 favourite games I played last year and my 3 favourite accessories. So first of all, let's talk about games. Now, I gotta say, this is definitely a personal sort of preference because I can be a bit boring with the games I pick. But I do have 3 games, and they're all very, very different games. I would say in third place, it's probably a bit of a boring answer, but it's FIFA or FC24. I haven't actually played FC24, but pretty much the entirety of sort of January up until September and probably still this season, I was playing FIFA 23. But I'm a big football fan. I'm a Tottenham fan. I love football. I love watching football. If I get an opportunity to watch football, I will go and watch football. I like playing football, but my knee's busted, so I just dislocate my knee pretty much every time I play football. But it's got to be up there because I do enjoy playing it, and every single time someone comes around my house and I want to play a game, if we're not playing Mario Kart on the Switch, it's FIFA. Now, game number 2 normally wouldn't be anywhere near my sort of favourite games, but because of one of the accessories that I'm going to talk about in a second, in fact probably because of 2 of the accessories, my number 2 is Gran Turismo 7. It is a fantastic driving simulator. It's a really good race game. There are elements of it that annoy me, the fact that you have to unlock everything. If you want to play local multiplayer, you have to unlock it. You have to like play enough of it single player to be able to get to the point where you've unlocked multiplayer. Like, if you're going to do multiplayer, just do it from the start. What's that about? Putting that aside, it is a fantastic game. I wouldn't put it in my top 3, but because it has full PSVR 2 support, that transforms this game from like a 6 to a 9. Honestly, using this in Gran Turismo 7 is, like I said earlier, it's by far the best virtual reality experience I've had, especially when you combine it with a steering wheel, which I'm going to get onto. Now, it's even to the degree that I've actually hired out my PlayStation and my driving simulator rig for events, because people love experiencing this driving simulator just in real life. Like, I've been sat around getting people to jump on the PlayStation VR 2, getting people to use the steering wheel, and every single time they get off it, if they've not driven before, they don't quite understand it, but if it's someone who knows how to drive, every single time they come off of it, they say that it was absolutely mind-blowing. So, Gran Turismo 7, you're in at number 2. And do bear in mind, guys, I've not played every single game. People talk about Resident Evil and stuff like that, especially on virtual reality, and I'm a bit of a wuss, so I haven't taken the sort of step to actually go and play it. But this isn't a virtual reality game. My number 1 is God of War Ragnarok. Now, I could have said God of War because that definitely would have been my favourite. I feel like putting both of them in the top 3 probably wouldn't be fair, because I absolutely blitzed through God of War just as quickly as I could, so I could then get onto God of War Ragnarok, which I didn't necessarily think was probably a massively smart idea, but I enjoyed both games very much. But God of War Ragnarok, I probably invested more time in and spent more time playing, and I probably completed a lot more of the side quests and side missions and sort of enjoyed it a bit more. And honestly, it's just a phenomenal game. The storytelling in it is absolutely incredible. The actual gameplay is like really fun, and you can sort of lean it more towards how you want to play depending on stuff like that, because there's so many options of how you can fight. It looks stunning and it is beautiful, so that is my number 1 game. Now, my top 3 accessories. Now, accessories can mean anything. It can mean DualSense controller, it can mean PSVR 2, it can mean the hard drive I put in it. So, including all of that stuff, I feel like the best way that I can show you isn't necessarily what's the most exciting, potentially the ones that I feel like I get the most value out of. So first of all, some honourable mentions. I love the PlayStation Portal. I love all of the headphones that I've tried out and the SteelSeries InZone H7s, which are the ones I use more regularly. But my 3 that I think I would recommend to people are as follows. And number 3 would be a hard drive upgrade. I've already gone over it, do it. It's worth doing, and it's probably made a big difference to sort of, especially because I do like recording on the PS5 as well. It's helped me out a lot. I appreciate it. My number 2 is the Logitech G923, or any other steering wheel and driving rig setup. That honestly, I only ever used it for one game. I only ever used it for Gran Turismo 7, but like I said, that turned that game into from sort of a really sort of okay game for me personally. I'm not massively into driving games. I enjoy them a bit, but not massively into them. But it turned that from that into sort of one of the best gaming experiences I've had. I mean, arguably it will be my number 1 game, but I just really enjoy God of War. Having this now, the G923, I've not tried loads of other steering wheels. This is just the one that I happen to have. But the G923, it's got force feedback on it. It feels absolutely fantastic. When you're turning corners, it gives you loads of resistance to them as well. That combined with the virtual reality element, like you're actually sat in the car, it feels as real as going around a racetrack. Probably doesn't feel as real as going around a racetrack. honestly. But it's close. Like, honest, it's the closest you'll get without actually getting into a car, in my opinion, or into one of these professional driving simulators. And then my number one accessory for the PS5, PSVR 2. Now, I'm a big fan of VR, and if it wasn't for my Meta Quest 3 that you can see just over there, this would be the only VR headset I play. Now, there are a few things that frustrate me about it. The main one being the lenses and the fact that it always seems to find a way to feel blurry and you're constantly having to move it around all the time. If it wasn't for those lenses, this would be probably the only VR headset I would actually use regularly. But the Quest 3 just blows it out of the water in that regard. Now, I was looking at buying some games. Recently, I got Arizona Sunshine 2, which is a fantastic zombie game with some great sort of humour thrown in, some companionship from a dog. It's a thoroughly enjoyable game. And I could sort of choose between going for that on the PSVR 2 or getting that on the Quest 3. And there was a lot of things inside of me thinking that I want to get this game on the Quest 3 because it's just a bit easier to use. I'm not having to deal with the wire that you get with the PSVR 2. But the fact that it just looks so much better on the PSVR 2. It's got an OLED screen, which just looks absolutely amazing. Blacks are truly black, so if you're in a dark scene, it feels really dark. The graphic fidelity using a PS5 to play this game over a sort of mobile processor on the Quest 3 is just night and day difference. You get so much more sort of lighting effects on the PlayStation than you would do on the Quest 3, and it just feels like a much more real experience, which is why you're sort of jumping into it, really. Feeling you real, that's the slogan, isn't it? So that is my number one accessory for the PS5. Now, what I've talked about today isn't the only experience I've had on the PS5. I've done quite a lot on the PS5 over the last year, and I've featured some of it on the channel as well. But 2024 is here, and I shall be enjoying the PS5 for many more moons to come, I'm sure. But let's start a conversation, guys. I'd love to know what your best things about your PS5 are. Do you have a PSVR 2? Are you a big PSVR 2 fan? Do you have a particular game on your PlayStation that you play more than anything else tenfold? Guys, I'd love to hear from you. Stick it down in the comments. If you enjoyed the video, leave a like, and I'll see you in the next one. Woo!